hard to do the same speed. The more I think about it, the choppier I get.
Hi, I'm Marna, and my latest obsession are Blythe dolls and sewing for Blythe dolls. And I've been working on some Christmas outfits, but today we are going to do a head nod to Jeffery Steiman Reviews, who does a month of Ariel dolls, November, because that's when the movie came out. Jeffery has a great channel. He's very funny. I found Jeffery when, you know how you stumble across a channel, and I was just taken in with his because he said, I don't know how he opened it, but he said, I waste my money on stuff, and you come here to watch the review to know if you should waste your money on the same stuff too. I was in. He's honest. He does collectible dolls, usually Barbies and Disney dolls, and he gives fair and honest reviews. Now here's your warning. If you are not 18 years old, he does not want you watching his channel, and neither does your mother. I love Jeffery. He's just funny and quick-witted. Anyway, so today we're going to do a DIY on how to make my Blythe doll, red-headed for Ariel, a mermaid outfit. These are 3 of my Blythe dolls that are non-original Blythe, is what I call them. I call this the copy, and these 2 are an improvement of the original 1970s dolls. I just wanted to show you the difference in the body when you go to sew for these dolls. I was using this particular doll as my mannequin. See the little sewing machine on there? That's her charm. And if I made the clothes a little loose on her, they fit these dolls. But these came yesterday. I got these dolls yesterday. And her hips, and I know you can't see it here, are wide. They're set wider and they're set different. And she has more of an arch to her back. It's hard to see unless you're putting clothes on, but she has more of an arch to her back. And she is absolutely ball jointed, which I like. She could ride a horse, and you know I like that on my dolls. The knee is the double jointed plastic. The foot is on a ball. Hers is not. Hers is the bend, and her leg twists this way, and so does this one. Her elbows are also the double jointed. These are a little different. And my point is, if you have several different body types, and I know they all have a name, I'm very aware of that. But if you have the different body types, you need to know when you're sewing that, especially something that is tight fitting with no give to the fabric, it may fit different dolls differently. This is a very inexpensive doll, and I really like them. To me, this is like the original Blythes were first made. Betty Boop head, non-bending arms. Now they do come out from the shoulder, which is really cute. She bends at the waist, which I really like. The original Blythe had the rubbery click legs copied from Barbie, and these dolls do not. But for the money, these are fun little dolls. She has the Barbie feet. She wears Barbie shoes, the smaller Barbie shoes, and I like that. It's kind of fun. Okay, so what we're going to do is take Barbie's pattern. I made this pattern, and you can see this on May 14th, 2020. We did a Mermaid month of beginner crafters, and I showed how to do this. But what I'm going to do is use the tail. Let's pull this off of her and her shoes. She won't need shoes today. I did want to point out that Darren put her name on her stand. I absolutely love that. And Easter has her name on hers, and so does Adeline. You know, like Sweet Adeline, the story, or the song. Sweet Adeline, the song. That's where she got her name. Okay, let's pull this off, Hottsie. And I probably should have taken her little hands off, but there we go. And there is her red hair and her blue eyes and her pearl necklace, which is perfect. And we'll set that to the side. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a paper bag. Thank you, Savers. I think it was Savers. Okay, there is a fold in. If you can see that, there's a fold right there. I'm putting this in the middle. And what I want to do is use these fins. Darren did a good job. I am not artsy. I use a pencil because I'm going to be drawing around my doll in a moment. And I don't want to get pin on her. You know, I'm going to go ahead and do this side too. That's a little off and we can fix that. That is not a problem. Okay, and then since this area is too big for this doll, we are going to bring her over, line her up with that. See how I made a mark there in the middle? We're going to put that at her neck. We're going to pull her feet right down to the bottom of that fin. Now, what we want to do is mark her from just above. Can you see the line where she twists? We're going to mark her just above that. And the reason we're going just above that is for our seam allowance. And I'm going to mark that. Okay, and you want to come out a little bit past your body. This fabric, however, this is the type fabric that I suggest using, has a lot of stretch to it in both directions. I'm hoping that we have a big enough piece to go this direction, which has the most resistance, but the more stretch. We could use it this way. There's less stress and less resistance, which means once it is put on and off a couple times, it's not going to recoil like this will. So we're going to mark this about 1/4 inch out and allow for seam. So here's our pattern, and you can see I did this half, and what I'm going to do is fold along that line, keeping it as straight as I can, and then I'm going to cut this out to make my pattern. We have our pattern, and it drives me absolutely nuts to see someone, here's how your fabric comes from the store. And sometimes on these how-tos and DIYs, people will take their pattern and put it right in the middle or right at the edge where this is folded. Then you're just wasting fabric. What I like to do is take the fabric, and it takes a minute to do this, to get it lined up, but it is so worth it. You just keep working this to where your pattern fits on your fabric, like so. Now I want it a little bigger. I'm going to sew this. The first thing I'm going to sew is I'm going to put my finished edge at the waist. And then I'm going to, of course, turned inside out, I'm going to sew all along here, and then I'm going to trim along the edges. I'm going to leave it a little bigger. I'm going to cut this a little big so that my sewing machine foot does not pull that into my sewing machine. But let me show you what I was talking about. Then if you cut your fabric like I'm showing you here, you have all of this whole piece here left, which you can use for so many things. Whereas if you cut a chunk out of it, then you only have a little bit left and a whole lot of waste. As I was cutting my fabric, it occurred to me, with the waist being so much smaller, I am not going to be able to take a seam in the waist. That would tighten the fabric from expanding over her hips, and I'd rather have a waist that's a little big and take a stitch in the back or add a snap to the back than to break those hip joints. When you press too tight on here with clothing, you don't want to do that. You can break those hips, and that's when you get those loose slide around hips. Also, when you're cutting this fabric and you have pieces like this was off the edge on this side, that is a whole nother skirt or dress or top or whatever. Do not throw these small pieces away. Even like this, we're going to make her bra top out of that. Okay, when I went to sew this is kind of rubbery, and my sewing machine wanted to fight me, so I sewed it by hand. My sewing machine needle, and I did try different ones, really was just gobbling and skipping stitches, so I just said that's enough. Now, here's the dilemma. When I finger press this, it is not staying flat. It wants to roll back in. So what we're going to do is witness me ruining these fins or fixing them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron this slightly. This is very rubbery. I mean, like stretch rubber. I love the fabric. Real cute for some dresses, like a tube dress, but these fins are just not laying flat. So what I'm going to do, I don't go get an ironing board. I have one somewhere, I never use it. I have one of my napkins. I use fabric napkins because I use one all the time, anytime I eat, and that's a lot in the landfills. So I made some cloth napkins and I do not iron them. So if you see that it is wrinkled, well, there you go. All right, what I'm going to try to do is one fin at a time, actually top or bottom at a time. I'm pulling those seams and trying to hold it, and it really wants to roll back in. So I don't know how this is going to go. I'm going to find out in just a second. All right, I've got that out as far as I can. I have my fabric doubled, and I'm laying that over, and let's see what happens. We'll try one side, and then we'll, the bottom side, and then we'll try the top.
Now, a sane person would use a test piece of fabric.
Yeah, but you know, it's not who I am, so
Well,
it's not going to work. It is not flattening that. Let's try. That's a good point, though, Darren. A lot, you know me, I'm just kind of a wing it as we go kind of person. Usually, I finger press that, and what this means is I work the seam to the edge, and then I kind of press down, and on cottons and linens and such, that will lay it flat, and you don't really need an ironing board. I guess that's better. All right, let's try this side. Ooh, ooh, ooh. See, I can't even get it to stay for the iron. See what happens. Let me check back under. Yeah. Whew, really got to pull that. All right. Needed a see-through napkin is what I need. Anyway, here we go. Let's give that a second. Now the top part I'm not worried about because it fits her. Yeah, that kind of worked. It's better for sure. So we'll do the other side, and then I will show you how this goes on the doll.
All right, after Marna struggled with this iron there. You can see that it's a little better, but it still doesn't hold its shape very well. So I had this idea and volunteered to give it a try. Use some of this foam backing. I marked it to the size of her pattern and then cut it just a little. You can see how much shorter. I just cut it a little bit shorter than that. And then after struggling for...
Cutting out the seam allowance.
Yeah, leaving this for the seam allowance because this is a pattern, but it gets made, it ends up being smaller than that. Anyway, folded it up, shoved it down inside the top here, and then worked it and spent, I don't know, 20 minutes. I did finally get that piece of foam in there. Foam's probably still a little bit too big. You can see it kind of curls a little bit, but it does hold its shape better than without. So we're going to cut this and give it a try here.
And like everything else, they don't make that foam craft stuff like they used to. It's very thin. It used to be thicker and would have held the edges better than this does.
Yeah, you could probably glue 2 pieces of this together or something, but it's good enough. And the other tricky part is keeping track of what's the top part and the bottom part. So I folded it, I'll fold it this way. Up top is the top part, and just start working its way down in there. Once I got it to the bottom of the leg part, I then rolled the leg down so I could get my fingers in there to kind of help press it. It might be easier to do this very beginning when you're turning it inside out, but anyway.
We didn't think of it then.
Yeah,
I didn't know the fabric was going to be so unforgiving. Darren's more patient than I am, and it was his idea, so I let him do it on camera. But you can see you just work it right on down.
So now you're kind of at the spot here where you can't really move it anymore. If you can grab the tip and pull it in like this, kind of inch its way, just like if you're running elastic in a waistband or something.
But you can't use a pin because you can't get the pin back out.
Right. So it can be done. Anyway, this is what I'm going to do here for another 20 minutes, and I've almost lost the top here. So anyway, this is what you do. Okay, here we go. We've got both ends of the fin stuffed with that foam. If you didn't want to screw with this, you could probably use fiber fill, but it would be puffier, not flat like a fin, but it would still be better.
Or bean bags, or beans are those tie heart plastic beans, which is what Jeffery Steiman review found inside an Ariel doll that was supposed to be a display doll. It didn't have legs, it just had beans, and the look on his face in that video was priceless. I found these at Walmart. They're just little pearl press-on adhesive pearls, but these were for the mermaids, you can see by the package. And what I want to do is I want to take some and decorate our fins a little bit. And what I'm going to do is just kind of stick these on randomly. This is what you kind of have, is some pearls around the edge. And it's up to you if you want a bunch of pearls or a few pearls. Or the first thing I want to show you before I put this little doll down in the fins is I am in love with these little Blythe improvement dolls. Blythe is a 1970s doll that actually, it was a Kenner product and it didn't do well. It was up against Barbie, and I think they added the pull string do something, because Mattel not only had Barbie, they had Chatty Cathy, and everybody loved that pull string. And it wasn't just Chatty Cathy, it was a whole line of talking dolls. But I wanted to show you her little bitty toenails. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. All the way down to her pinky toe. And the little fingernails. The details on these little dolls. See her belly button? They're just so cute. So here we are. And I wanted to point out that I did not finish the edge. 2 reasons. One, you don't need to. But if you stitch this down to finish that edge, when you stretch that to put it on your doll, you're going to break those stitches. So what you want to do is work this up the doll. It's not as hard as a balloon, but when you get to the hips, this is what I want to show you. Pull your fabric out away from the doll, away from the doll. That way you know that you have the stretch and you're not stressing your hip joints. And as I pull this up, that edge folds under naturally, and that's exactly what I want it to do. And there she is with her little fins. Oh, I really like that. It's really cute. This piece of fabric was left, as you can see, from the fins. And what we're going to do is fold this over and match it up a little bit. Take my good scissors. Now let's see if I can do this, because this is not forgiving fabric. You have to really be patient with it. And if you watch my channel, you know I'm not an easy going. And then I'm going to cut this to an angle. I'm going to, now, if this were for a human or for a doll, well, what I would normally do is fold this over, make a stitch right here, put a ribbon through that, and tie it around the neck. But because this is Blythe, I'm going to fold that over and think about it. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is tie this in the back. You have to tie it kind of tight. So I'm knotting it. She has on a pearl necklace. When you make necklaces for your Blythe dolls, you do have to add a clasp so that you can get it on and off. Okay, there she is. That is my November head nod to Jeffery Steiman's Reviews Ariel Month. So my Blythe doll Hottsie is now Ariel.